Hey everybody, we're back for week 3, college football 2023. Got a good SEC slate going through. We're gonna go ahead and get into these predictions. First game up tomorrow at noon is LSU on the road to Mississippi State. I got that down as a win. I think LSU is still getting right. You know, they had a good win last week. I got them taking it home against Mississippi State. Go ahead and get them on a Mississippi State on a losing streak coming into Williams-Brice for a night game next week. Go ahead and rattle them up a little bit. But I got LSU taking this one. How about you, Drew?
I'm right there with you. I got LSU. I think LSU is really getting into their peak after that last week's demolishment of Grambling. But I think my biggest worries about LSU has got to still be quarterback play. I still haven't seen Jaden Daniels settle down like I need him to and get the ball to the ball consistently. I'm still taking LSU with this one by 14. I think it's going to be close through the first half. I think LSU can pull away a little bit late if they stay out of the trouble issues. But I got some keys to this game I want to go over. Jaden consistency's got to be on point. I want to see him in the 60%, 70% completion range in that one, probably doing up 300 yards, averaging like 2 touchdowns. Next is really going to be Mississippi. I really think it's going to be a battle of the trenches for them. When I watched them last week, I did not see their offensive line show up like they really need to protect their quarterback. They got gifted that win because Arizona was a turnover machine early, but I still saw them struggle. I think LSU could take that one pretty easy. I got them about 4 victory. What you think, Sean?
Man, listen. Let's go ahead and expect this game to be a little closer than the national media may think. Right? I get it. Arizona gave the ball up a whole lot and gave Mississippi State life, but they had life and they took advantage of life, and they used that life to get the W. This team the Arizona game was a toss up. They won that. They have some excitement going on with them. I'm not ruling out. I'm gonna call it a pickle, man. I can't even say. But I would not be shocked if State did not upset LSU tomorrow. It's not a prediction. It's not a prediction. I'm just saying I won't be shocked.
I would love to see that. I would love to see LSU go down 2-0, 2 losses early in the season. But I think LSU got the intangibles to really get this one done late. I think they got the experience. They got the coaching staff. I think that Mississippi State folds in these type of games. So as much as I want to be on your side, I think they got it, I just don't see their star power. I don't see enough yet after watching last week. I don't see enough to compare to LSU right now.
Makes sense.
Gotcha. Next game up is Missouri at home taking on Kansas State. I think Kansas State is going to go ahead in here and get this W. I got Missouri taking the loss, especially after how Missouri played last week against Middle Tennessee. They squeaked that one out, a 23-19 win. Then again, that was at home. I know they try to pride themselves on their defense this season, but I don't see this being a Missouri up kind of year. I think Kansas State goes in there and gets an easy dub. What about you, Drew?
I'm right there with you. I think Kansas State being number 15 team in the nation, I think they really should come out in this game and dominate. The stuff I've seen from Missouri this year, going back to a couple podcasts ago that we talked about them, nothing that they truly put in game plan has been working. When Middle Tennessee played Bama the first game of the year, I thought they did good pressure-wise on Bama's offensive line. Bama, of course, was way better than them. They really could match up long-term. But when that pressure got to Missouri, you really saw Missouri kind of get shaky. You really see them say, okay, our defense ain't the same. Our offense ain't the same. We're really in a hole. So right now I got Kansas State taking this one by at least 20 points. Because I think overall Kansas State, watching them, I think their quarterback is going to be a well-accuracy quarterback. I think he's really good in that aspect. They got a 2 running back system. They're well-balanced on offense. I think they got everything offensively to put up at least 28 to 35 points on Missouri. I think it's going to be over with early.
I completely agree. I predicted early. One of my few predictions that I've gotten right, that Kansas State is going to win this football game. Missouri is who I thought they were up to this point, and they're going to continue to be. I got Kansas State with the big W.
Gotcha. So next up, we got Bama going on the road, going to South Florida. Bounce back game for Bama. They're going with their new quarterback. We got how you pronounce his name? That's
Tyler Buckner.
Tyler Buckner coming out from Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
All over the place. Honestly, at the beginning of the season, I thought he was probably their most prepared quarterback, and not from the sense of him being being at Bama long term, but because he's coming with his old offensive coordinator from Notre Dame that came to Bama past season. He's the guy that probably best knows how this offense needs to be ran. But
Right.
I also don't think he's the best quarterback on the roster when it comes to what do they bring to the table. I think Milroe definitely got exposed last week against Texas as far as throwing the ball. He's not a sit in the pocket, throw it kind of guy. I think this is just going to be an uptick. This is going to be the kind of guy, the kind of game that you got to figure out what you got and figure out how you want to run your offense. You got to figure it out fast because they're getting ready to turn around and go into SEC play starting next week at home with Ole Miss. So I got them winning this one. I think it'll be an easy game for them. Don't think South Florida has anything really to offer, especially going up against Bama level competition. But I do think it'll be interesting to see how this game is called from an offensive coordinator standpoint, especially with the guy that he wants under center. It'll be interesting, but I do got Bama taking this one. What you think, Drew?
I'm right there with you. Let's take a trip back down to last week's game versus Texas. I think Bama overall didn't have their full arsenal ready to go in that game. And what I mean by that is Nick Saban is still trying to figure out what this team is made of. So I really think that game right there, he put it as a challenge. He put it as a test. He put all those names out there for that game, and we failed miserably. Now, I thought that game was a lot closer than a lot of these analysts out there and media people are saying it was. It's a 10-point difference. Jalen Milroe threw 2 interceptions that led to 10 points. To me, that's where the game got lost in. I feel like that second interception demoralized Bama mentally. So I really feel like they came back, did what they got to do. They're getting things under order. I think now Nick Saban's saying, okay, cool, we're going to put whatever we can out there this week against South Florida to truly get the last option to see people before SEC play. So that's why we went to a quarterback change. Now, to me, I've been saying this for a minute. I think Tyler is the guy that everybody in Tuscaloosa wants to be quarterback. Why? Because he knows the offensive coordinator. He just came out of their system. So, okay, we don't need you to be no Tua Tagovailoa, no Jalen Hurts, no Bryce Young to win this type of championship. We just need you to be an average quarterback that can execute the offense and get things done. So, to me, this is going to be a real test about Bama, not because of who they're playing, but because we know this is the last week we really get things together before we go into SEC play. And I don't think the SEC playing teams that we're playing early this season are big-time teams that can beat us. But I do think if we're going to come in there full throttle, it's anybody's match. Everybody's looking at taking off Bama, no matter if we're number 1 team or the number 10 team. They're looking at coming at us and going to give us their best shot. So this game right here, I got a couple keys. I truly just want to see the offense move the ball consistently. I want to see the offensive line get camaraderie and hold up together. Y'all talk all offseason about how y'all gonna be this new old standard of Bama, and we failed to that early. So when I really think about this game, I think it can be Bama blowing them out early, but it's not about the end score. To me, it's gonna be about how do we look? Do we execute? Did we come out there and whoop their butts early? That's what I think Nick Saban wants. In defense, I think defense played well last week. I think outside of them getting put in a bad position twice, they played well leading up until fourth quarter. So Texas got a late third quarter touchdown to put them in the 20s, and they got 2 fourth quarter touchdowns. So to me, the defense did what they needed to do. I want to see better. But overall, I think Bama's going to take this one big by at least 30 points because I think it's going to be a revenge type of game for them overall. What you think, Sean?
Well, I hope Texas don't Texas this season up because the team's actually pretty good. Okay. I was impressed. It shocks me still to this day that Alabama did not understand that the first quarter of last year's game was going to be what they saw for 4 quarters unless Quinn Ewers got hurt again.
Right.
Okay. Right. We made our mistakes. I do think the defense played well, to your point. I do in a lot of spots. But, you know, hey, there's familiarity there. Which anytime there's familiarity, you know, Nick Saban for the longest time it had a very nice record against his assistants. Well, you see that record kind of dwindling now because his assistants are starting to beat him, catch up with him for whatever that reason may be. But at the end of the day, I'm just shocked that Alabama was not prepared as a coaching staff seeing as though you played this same team, the same quarterback, less some hair on his head. And you barely got out of Texas last year. So I'm not shocked. I don't think the national media was shocked. I don't think anybody was shocked. Now, with that being said, everything that Alabama has that was in front of them before the season started is still in front of them. And I'm sure that's the message that's being spoken to while they're on the plane on their way to Tampa right now. They understand if they do not destroy in emphatic fashion, running the ball, doing the things like you said, Drew, that they said they were supposed to do at the beginning. We're going to be a power run team. We're going to get back to the basics, right? Mm-hmm. Right. That's why Tyler Buckner's coming in. Now we don't need flash in the pan. We don't need a quarterback that can run like Lamar Jackson. We don't need that. We've never been built for that. Now is not the year. This is not the year. Now, can they lose another football game? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? But there's too many opportunities for them to win games. You got Tennessee, right? You got Ole Miss. I mean, you got too many teams you can beat and get back in the conversation. Nick Saban knows all we got to do is win out, and we control our destiny. Okay. As far as this game, I see blood. I see pain. Pain. Rocky 3. Clubber Lang. Stand in front of Rocky. What's your prediction? Pain. It ain't finna be it's not finna be pretty tomorrow. UCF's going down. They're gonna run out of stretches tomorrow. It's gonna be ugly.
I'm right there with you. When I really look at this Bama team, though, do you feel like this Bama team is championship worthy, though, Sean? Do you feel like they got it in them? Or do you feel like it's one of those seasons where it is leading up to a rebuild?
This is one of those teams. I'm gonna look at the country, right? The reason why Alabama can win this championship this year is because the top is down. The top is down. I don't think Ohio State's great. We're going to find out something about Georgia tomorrow. Michigan, I don't know. They ain't finna win on national championship. The opportunity is there because there is no clear-cut number one in my eyes right now.
I believe that. I'm right there with you. Yeah. I think this team's got that talent. What you think, Vam?
I think they do have it. I think really the only team, and I was going to ask y'all, I think the only team that's really separated themselves from the pack at this point is Florida State. And that's a thing where it's like they got enough firepower and they're just clicking on all cylinders right now. But what is Florida State going to look like when they run into their, they played LSU, but LSU is what, kind of we've seen what they've turned into. But outside of Florida State, it's like Florida State in the field. Anybody's got a shot to get up there. A lot of these teams that have been at the top for as long as they have the last couple of years, everybody has giant question marks on their teams right now. And that's the thing that's kind of getting given, like Sean, like you were saying, gives you hope that, hey, Bama can be right there in it. You clean out this rest of the schedule and you right there in it at the end of the year. And a lot of your hard games you got left besides A&M, and we'll get into them next. You got Tennessee, LSU, both of those big games, you got them at home this year. So, you get the path.
And the revenge games. Yeah. And both of the revenge games.
The path is there. You don't really got to go on the road anymore except for A&M and at Auburn at the end of the year. Outside of that, all your meaningful games are at home, and that plays a lot having to play them in Bryant-Denny. So I definitely think they are in position to still get there to get a championship this season. I don't think it's out of the question.
Man, you're so right. And to bring Florida State up, you know what I'm saying? I think when it's all said and done, we're going to end up being fans of this team toward the end of the season. But I'm going to circle the November 11th matchup against Miami as the old traditional Florida State, Miami, like old school Peter Warwick, you know what I'm saying, Warwick Dunn type, you know what I'm saying, old school, just ACC football game, Big East football game. Actually, is what it used to be way back in the day when it was real good. But yeah, I'm interested to keep up with Florida State, see what they got going on too. But yeah, I think Bama definitely has a chance to be there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, next game. Let's head into this next one real quick. We do have A&M at home against Louisiana Monroe. I'll tell you what, this Texas A&M team coming off that drubbing they took down there in Miami is interesting. I'll say the one big thing about this A&M team, I got them winning this game. A&M's problem this season is not offense. They putting up points. The problem is their defense and situations that they put themselves into in these ball games. And there's a lot of kind of what happened last year where these games they thought they were going to win last year, and something ends up happening. It's just the play calling and what those situations are that come up during the game. Outside of that, I think it's still a question mark. We don't know what Texas A&M is because we got high on them week 1. They drove New Mexico as they were supposed to. You go to Miami, and it just honestly watching that game, they were trailing, kind of feet backpedaling that whole entire game. Miami seemed like as soon as they jumped on them, A&M kind of looked kind of lost. They were just fighting. Of course, they were scoring with them, but at the same time, they didn't look like a complete team just yet. I got them winning this game. But we'll see what they are later down the road. What about you, Drew?
I'm right there with you. I think Texas A&M has a lot of questions. To me, going into the season, I thought Texas A&M would at least be 3-0. I thought they would have the skill set to beat Miami, but they got on Miami early. But when Miami finally turned that switch on, Texas A&M got exposed in so many different ways, and it's making me really question them. It's making me really question the coaching staff, making me really question Jimbo Fisher and what he's been trying to preach to his team. So with this one right here, I got Texas A&M winning by 20. I think they're going to be able to put up points on Monroe. Of course they should. But I still got some keys I want to see out of them. I want Texas A&M to get back to a bounce-back type of week. I want them to have that revenge-type mindset. Like, okay, we got embarrassed. Now it's time for us to go embarrass somebody else. So I really want them to have that type of mentality. I really want to look at the defense, see about their tackling being better. I want their turnovers to get a little bit more. I really want their defense to get to be an SEC-type play. I really haven't seen that the last couple of weeks. Third thing I really want to see, I want to see defensively, are your players still motivated to listen to your coaches? Mm-hmm. I think near the end of that game last year, they got kind of some rogue players out there not really following the system that their coaches want them to do. And I think that's been Texas A&M's trend over the last couple of seasons, is that the players and their coaches just aren't really on the same page as we thought they would be. So to me, I really want to see them come out, be efficient. I know that's my word. Be consistent and be aggressive and mean. Just get back to SEC football, man. So I got Texas A&M by 20. What you think, Sean?
Okay, there are a couple things like this that are guaranteed. Okay, one of those things is Jimbo Fisher's contract. Okay, he's finna get paid regardless of whether he beats UL Monroe or not. Okay, he ain't been the same coach since he got that guaranteed contract. Okay, they're gonna beat UL Monroe. Okay, but after that, they actually have a chance to lose 7 of 8. Okay, and matter of fact, that's what I'm looking for. Jimbo is going to be gone after this year. I said it a long time ago. Bobby Petrino was not going to be his savior. Jimbo Fisher could not properly lead a team. Is over. Next.
I got you. Next game up. We get into the night slate going on right now. We got Auburn at home taking on Samford. Auburn is a very interesting team coming together right now. Last week, let me see. They went to Cal, ended up beating Cal 14-10. Like I said, it's a very, very, very interesting team to keep a hold of. They're gonna win this one. Coming up next for Auburn, you get into SEC play. They're going to A&M.
They're gonna win that one,
which is gonna be interesting. I got to take it home to W with this one, kind of tuning things up still, and that leaves Auburn starting 3-0 right now under new management down there. Drew, let me know what do you think about this Auburn team?
I hate Auburn with all my life, so I really don't really care what Auburn does. To me, when I look at last week's game, I thought they had their quarterback situation answered. No. That was my biggest takeaway, but it's not answered. And I think that is a concern for me going into SEC play, going into these big-time games. I'm like, to me, I'm not seen that jump yet. Now, Hugh Freeze has done an amazing job with his defense. I like the defense the way they look. But overall, offensively, I don't think they got all the answers yet. When you play a team like Samford, it's easy. You want to iron out your kinks in that type of game. This is going to be a kink iron out game for Auburn. And that's all I really care about. See if y'all can get enough going on, because like Sean, I think they're going to go into a situation where they can lose the next like 5 to 6. Mm-hmm. They really could. So to me, I'm like, this is your last shot. how I kind of said to Bama, to get your team together, to get your final roster in order about who you want on the field, who you want the ball in the hands of. And to me, I got Auburn winning by at least 20. I don't think it's going to be some type of offensive explosion they're going to have just because of the trouble I think they have. So I really got them by really getting like 28 points, 30 points in this game, and Sanford getting like maybe 7 to 10.
Oh yeah, it's easy winnable game for Auburn. They'll beat Sanford handily. Hopefully they figure out some things. They'll beat A&M, then they run into Georgia. That game could potentially be interesting, maybe, probably not. But I knew Auburn was going to be an interesting team to watch this whole year. So far, they've handled their business, so I have no reason to doubt them. So let's see what happens after this week.
Gotcha. Moving on to the next one, we got Ole Miss at home against Georgia Tech. Lane pulled one out his ass down there at Tulane last week. I'll tell you what, I think that does nothing but boost that team's confidence, though. I think you kind of look at it sideways from the standpoint of it was Tulane, but Tulane is a very good senior, very veteran program to go up against, especially in their stadium when you knew they were going to throw everything they got at you to try to have that we be the SEC team, under their notch.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely think that's a building block. I think that being in that situation is where you're in that close game is going to do nothing but help that team, especially in the long run when you get in those situations again. They're going to easily handle this one against Georgia Tech, but I think that's another team where, looking at Ole Miss, you got this week to get right. Then you got to go to Bama. To that always interesting game between Lane and Nick. So that's going to be interesting. I got them taking this one. Give me your thoughts, Drew.
I'm right there with you. Going back to last week against that Tulane team, I thought that game was going to be close. Really, to me, if Tulane had their starting quarterback, I thought they would have been a lot closer. Because to me, for that first half, I thought they had Ole Miss on their heels. Now, going into halftime, I know that Ole Miss had a better game plan coming out the second half because they showed it. Now, to me, there's going to be some keys to Ole Miss offense. I want to see their running back still be consistent as he's been in the last couple of weeks. And I want to see Jackson Dart be as consistent as he's been in the last couple of weeks. I think he is the key, being Jackson Dart, to their offense, their team, really. Because defensively, Ole Miss really isn't that impressive to me. They're really just not. So I think it is all offense. It's all on Lane Kiffin's shoulder to put together a great offensive game plan to continue to beat teams offensively. This game against Georgia Tech is going to be easy for them. I think if they stop down and run for Georgia Tech and they come out there throwing the ball like how they've been throwing it, they will win by at least 20 to 30 points. That's my true opinion on this game. Now, going forward, Ole Miss's next couple of weeks is going to be truly interesting when you think of Bama, LSU, Arkansas. So, last opportunity. I'm saying this a lot today because week 3, to me, is by the time a lot of teams should say, we know what we're going to do week in and week out.
Right.
Ole Miss is one of those teams where I really don't feel like they got that answered yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really interested to see this game. I'm really interested to see if they can be consistent as they've been. I got Ole Miss by 25.
Yep, I'm there. Y'all know I like Lane Kiffin when he's doing it right. When he's doing it wrong, he's way wrong. But he'll have no problem with Georgia Tech. I'm up here, Georgia Tech. When the last time they been good?
I don't know.
I've been living for 49 years, and I don't remember. Why is Georgia Tech not better than they are? Shouldn't they be better? They in a recruiting hotbed. I know this ain't no ACC show or Georgia Tech thing, but I'm just thinking. I just said Georgia Tech, and I never think about football. Why is that?
I ain't even gonna tell you, Sean. I can't tell you. I'm 27. I can't tell you even a Georgia Tech head coach. So I
not
really
even a player. Jamar Gibbs. That's it.
Well, that's good. That's interesting, right? A good question.
Yeah, my bad. But anyway, they'll lose the game. But I'm just trying to figure out why. Georgia Tech should be better. We should talk about that one day. What happened to Georgia Tech?
I got you. All right, next up, we got Arkansas at home against BYU. Arkansas is a little kind of strolling along. KJ Jefferson down there. You still got Raheem Sanders in the backfield. I think it's just another easy win at home for Arkansas. Still another team to keep your eye on. This, a lot of these teams are getting into SEC play in the next week. So looking at all of these games this week is going to be very telling. Like Drew, you were saying, these are your last, get your kinks in, make your final adjustments before stuff starts getting going. And as dangerous as this team is early in the season, it'll be interesting how they play tomorrow and then heading into going to LSU to play at LSU. It's going to be interesting too. I got them taking the win against BYU. I think it will be a little bit more one of the more competitive games, a little evenly matched, but I think they'll easily take it. What do you think, Drew?
I think this is going to be competitive for the first half.
Mm-hmm.
To me, right now, BYU does not have the complete team to stand up to Arkansas's complete team. Now, when I'm saying Arkansas's complete team, I don't think they're a top team in the country, but I do think they have a complete roster, as in their defense knows what their identity is, their offense knows what their identity is. To me, last year's game versus them was a shootout. A lot of scoring, a lot of touchdowns on the board. This year's Arkansas's defense, to me, is a lot better. I think they're going to have some issues. BYU having some issues against Arkansas's defense. And to me, KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders, y'all, this is y'all time to really show up y'all the best duo, running back, quarterback duo in the country. Because I hear them saying it a couple times throughout the week. They say they believe they're the best running back, quarterback duo. Now's the time to show it. Y'all got to take this momentum into your SEC play. Interesting fact about Arkansas. Arkansas's defense has not allowed a touchdown yet. So, to me, I think that they're going to come in there as a defense having that motivation to still be this steel curtain that's not getting nobody in the end zone. Now, BYU's offense is not ranked high. They really don't move the ball that well, even though they scored 41 points last week. That's where all their offense came from. So, BYU is going to struggle in the second half of this game, but I think they're going to come out aggressive. I think overall Arkansas is going to win this one by at least 14-20. But I really want to see them run the ball efficiently, dominate down BYU's middle of their defense, and overall be the SEC team that I hope they are.
Yeah, so I'm looking at BYU's quarterback. They want to throw the ball. They're not a good running team, right? I don't know if this is completely accurate or not, but maybe he threw the ball 65 times last week, or maybe he's thrown the ball 65 times in both games. I don't know, but that's what they want to do. They want to throw it. Arkansas, I think, is just basically okay in pass defense. We still don't really know because they hadn't played nobody yet. I don't know. It could be interesting, right? This may be one to sit back with some popcorn, man, with nothing else on and just watch it to see what happens, right? I'm going to go with Arkansas because BYU has no business beating them, but I wouldn't be shocked if they do.
Definitely.
That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. Hey, all right. So next game before we get into the games of the week, we got Kentucky at home taking on Akron. In my opinion, Kentucky is a bad football team. I'm gonna just put that out there. Kentucky is not good,
and they shouldn't be
right now. I mean, you look at it; they did not tie this. They didn't tie against Eastern Kentucky until 6 seconds left to go. And it took one play down the field, a one-play touchdown, and then they ended the half tie at 7-7. They didn't take the lead until what is this? Until the middle of the third quarter. Middle of the third quarter, you struggle that much on offense. You put the stats up later in the game, but even then, they don't look well put together. Devin Leary has looked as advertised as a guy that's coming into the SEC for the first time. I don't have any faith in this team. They're gonna, of course, get this win against Akron, but I don't know what else to really say about Kentucky right now. They do not look like a good program.
I'm right there with you. I think Kentucky's going to definitely, of course, win this game. But my only thing with Kentucky is I feel like they have an identity issue on offense. I feel like they don't know if they wanted to be in Devin Leary's hands or they wanted to be in the running back's hands. Mm-hmm. And I think, to me, they got to be a running team. That's why I see Kentucky as. I don't see them as no air raid offense throwing the ball for 300, 400 yards a game. I just don't see that right now. So, to me, when I think about this game, I really just want Kentucky to really just find their identity, find what works down and down, drive for drive, game for game for you. I really think that that's all y'all got to worry about this year. They don't have any aspirations of winning the SEC. No aspirations of going to the playoff. Hopefully, y'all can make a bowl game. So to me, early in the season, just get your team together. Just get them together, get them under man, get them motivated, and say we're gonna build this team as we go along through the year. Kentucky, they can really fall off a cliff if I really had to say so. I really don't care what they do, but I think they're gonna get a win this week by at least 15-20.
They'll win the game. As a matter of fact, they'll not win this game, but they'll win the next one and the next one. The best thing Kentucky has going for them right now is their schedule. Right, I predicted them to go 5-0. They're going to be a highly ranked team by the time they get to Georgia, which they're going to take their first loss of the season. The team is not good, but their schedule is going to allow them to look better than they are. What I'm hoping is that it does not give them a false sense of security as a coaching staff. Right, the coaching staff can still coach this team to a 9-3 season. Okay, and a New Year's Day bowl. They could be in Orlando or they could be in Tampa. They really can. Right, it ain't gonna be no higher than that, but they still have a chance to be 9-3, which is where Mark Stoops where he usually lays his head. Mark Stoops is giving us what he always gives us. That we have no reason to think otherwise, better or worse. This is what he gives us. So hey, there it is, Kentucky with a W. Let's go.
Yep. And then we're gonna circle right back around. I think we missed this one. We had Vandy going on the road to UNLV. I figure I will overlook it. You know what I'm gonna do though, because I really don't know what to think about this Vanderbilt team, other than the fact it is Vanderbilt. I'm gonna go ahead and give them a win on the road at UNLV, bringing their win total this season to 3. They're halfway there to maybe get into a bowl game early too. So
I got them winning it. I had them winning it in the beginning. I'm a Vandy fan this weekend.
Yeah. I got them taking this one. I got them winning on the road at UNLV.
Yep.
I'm right there with y'all. I think Vandy gonna win this one, but I wouldn't be shocked if they lose. Vandy on the road is gonna be the average football team, so they can go in there and just really not have their ducks in a row and just have a lot of penalties, have some turnovers, and lose this game close. But I think they're gonna win it close. I think they're gonna win it by like 8. I don't think it's gonna be another big blowout, but I just want to see Vandy build on themselves. You got to get some record right now. Just building yourselves, get to 3. Like Van said, get to a bowl game this season, and we'll talk about y'all next year.
Yeah, for sure. And one more thing, they're playing at Allegiant Stadium. There'll be 12,000 people there. The stadium is too big for that. It's not even gonna feel like a home atmosphere. It could be like they're practicing or whatever. So Vanderbilt can really just go in there loose and play football and just take the W home.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, games of the week. We got 2 SEC games of the week this week. We got Tennessee on the road at Florida. Well, not on the road. Yeah. Tennessee's on the road at Florida. This is a interesting game because of the fact, in my opinion, Florida has not looked good. And it's something going on in Vegas that us fans don't know about.
Somebody tell us. Somebody tell us. Put it in the link below. Somebody
let us know, because for whatever reason, this line for this game has gone from a 14-point to a 6-point yesterday, and now it's down to a 5. And I don't see it. Maybe it's Tennessee. I don't see it from the Florida side, but maybe it's Tennessee, because Tennessee also has some glaring issues also. You can go back to last week against Austin Peay. How do you struggle for as long as they did with Austin Peay? And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Joe Milton, because as much hype as he had going into this season, the offense does not look well. It doesn't look as meshy and as smooth as it did last year. And then I came out of last year saying, and this could be one of our more in-depth, because this is one of our games where we're going to get into it a little bit more. I said last season, and coming out of last season, Hendon Hooker was so special because of his accuracy on the deep ball.
Right.
That's what killed you. He could drop it in a bucket anywhere on the field, and that's what made them dangerous, especially with the weapons they had. Joe Milton, he could throw it 100 yards. That's fine. But his accuracy issues are where we're starting to see them struggle and really hurt this offense. You go all the way until you get to halftime and you're only up 13-6 on this team. And I want to let you know, these first couple of drives in the first half started with 3 plays for 5 yards. You ended with a punt. Took 55 seconds off the clock. From there, you did 4 plays for 13 yards. You punted, only took 1:06. The next drive, you took a field goal with 4 plays for 2 yards. Let me go back and give you the yard. 5 yards the first drive, 13 the second drive, 2 yards the third drive. Get a field goal until only took a minute down. You go 39 yards with 8 plays. You don't convert on downs, so you ended up giving the ball back to them, and then you get a field goal late in the first half with 3. It took 3 minutes off the clock for that one. This offense does not look
inexcusable.
Yeah, it's kind of like you sitting there and you like, what am I watching and what happened to the team from last year? It should not be this much of a drop off. I got them going down here and winning this game. I think it's going to be an ugly game, though. I don't think this game is going to be in hand either way. And maybe that's why the line is what it is, because people are starting to lose faith in what Tennessee is. But I tell you what, it's gonna be real interesting to follow this Tennessee team throughout the season. But those are just my thoughts on it. I got them pulling it out. I got them winning at Florida. But this is just there's another one of them teams like we talked about earlier that were big name teams last season that coming into this one, you were like, hey, they should be hitting. And the team with a bunch of question marks going on, question marks that are being discovered right now as the season is rolling along. Drew, give me your thoughts.
I don't think the line is coming down has anything to do with Florida.
Right.
I think it has everything to do with Tennessee. Now, when I look at Tennessee's games, I watched the first half against Virginia. I was flipping back and forth between Tennessee and Virginia and Colorado versus TCU. I ended up watching more TCU than Tennessee. But in that game versus Virginia, I thought they started out slow.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, started out extremely slow. You cannot go to the swamp down in Gainesville, Florida, and start out slow. It's not going to be the fact that Florida's going to whoop your butt, but if you're missing on your stuff, that crowd is going to get louder and louder to make things difficult for an offense. An offense that likes to really communicate quick, move the ball fast, use tempo. When you can't hear play calling coming in, you can't hear your offensive line communicating to you, those things are going to cause issues. So to me, I think the line right now is where it should be. I think it's going to be maybe a 6 to 10 point game all the way up into the third quarter. But I think you're going to see Florida run out of gas in this one just because they don't have enough firepower to keep up with Tennessee. I think this game can be a high-scoring game. But overall, I really want to see Tennessee come out and be efficient. Joe Milton, we've heard so much about you. I've heard people talk about he may be the best quarterback in college football history, talent-wise. I'm like, whoa, what are we talking about here? This guy has been to how many schools? First of all, and he's not landing in Tennessee thinking it's going to just revitalize his career because that's what he's hoping for. So to me, I'm like, you've already shown those first 2 games that you're not a premier level quarterback. So it's going to be, how can you game manage this team? Can you get that out of yourself when it comes to Joe Milton? Can you bring that top 2 quarterback? To me, I think Tennessee's going to win this one by 7, 8 points due to a very late touchdown.
So I honestly believe Florida completely sucks. Okay. Yeah. I don't necessarily, I've got a lot of hype on Tennessee, and I'm going to keep the hype until they lose. I think Tennessee should be able to easily beat Florida, not because Tennessee's great, but because Florida's that bad. I think Joe Milton is Tennessee's version of Jalen Milroe, right? I think the difference in the seasons may end up being who's got the better backup. I'm taking Tennessee. I think it'll be a fun watch. It's going to be ugly. Neither team seems to be world beaters, so we'll see. But Tennessee with the win for sure.
I got you.
And Florida sucks.
and to get a little bit more into this one, and I mentioned this when we were doing our breakdowns for the SEC East before the season started. How many more games of this offense looking like this before the crowd and everybody starts giving us calls to try to get Nico out there, get another change back there at quarterback? Because
may want to look at it.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, as hyped as he was coming in, when do the crowd start getting behind you? Get another situation where it's like, hey, you put him out there, he starts showing why he was such a high recruit. How much
Well, I
do
guarantee
you think it's going to be? How much more struggle do you think it'll be before the calls start coming and you start to see, hey, let's see what we got back here with Nico?
So the coaching staff's already thought about it, right? We all know this. We've all got enough football knowledge to know that the coaching staff has a pulse on the situation and they have a trigger that they will pull when they need to. Your question is, when do they pull it? If they go behind at Florida too early, if they go behind early and they're having them 3 and outs that they had against Austin P, yes, you're going to make a change at that particular point. You're not going to sit there and let Joe Milton continue to be anemic with the offense. He got too much talent around him. You owe it to your fans and everybody else to put the other guy in if the offense is going to be performing like this. No, you can't do this for long. What you think, Drew?
I'm right there with y'all. Hey, Nico is a bad mother. Shut your mouth. Hey, I've been watching this kid through 7-on-7s, and I've been watching him through high school. I think he is the guy. Now, to me, the big question is, are you going to burn his red shirt?
Yeah.
Burn it.
Have him really play this season. I don't think that he can lead your team to SEC title. I think he does need this year of learning. I don't want to see him play, but if he did come in the game, I'll probably be my eyes glued to the TV just because I have a dominant quarterback talent he is. I'm not saying he's proven thing to do it, but he's got the accuracy like hitting the hooker. He could put the ball on a dot on your shirt. And it's going to be something that most people in that area have really not seen in a very, very, very long time of consistent play. Tennessee saw hitting the hooker for really do what he did for one major year. Nico has the talent to be a organization, university changing type quarterback. So I think that he is the guy. Now, will it come out this week? I'm going to say no. I don't think Florida's good enough to bring it out of them, Sean. I don't think they are. So to me, I think Joe Milton has all the capability of handling Florida. It's just going to be, can you handle the swamp to me?
Right. And so look, burn the red shirt. Listen, Deion Sanders said it best. If you don't play him, he may go. If any part of you is thinking that he might be your future, you got to get him in. You got to do it now. That might mean you lose and you lose ugly. But if that's your guy and you don't play him, I guarantee you he's gone next year because who might be calling? Damn Prime might be calling. You're going to lose him. So what you going to do? This is the thing that these college coaches have to worry about. It's a power for another day, but it's legit and it's real in the coaching and players world right now.
But I mean, at the same time, Sean, it's really not for another day because they got this week and they got next week to really figure it out.
They got to figure it out.
After these next 2 weeks, you got South Carolina, you got Texas A&M, Bama, Kentucky. I'm like, I mean, you're going to get into real SEC play here. I mean, there's some teams that y'all can beat, but if you don't have your quarterback in order, you're not going to beat these teams. A lot of these teams aren't going to let you start slow in the SEC, and you get your momentum going and get it done. We saw that last week when it came to Bama. Bama started out extremely slow. It's not many teams that can get it started out slow and then push it up against top-tier opponents.
Right.
We expected Tennessee to be a top-tier team this year. Sean, you had them winning the East, if I remember correctly.
I'm still there.
This is the game. They got to bring it out the back.
Yep.
They've been a disappointment this year. They put up points, but they've been a disappointment in what their expectations were going to be. Right. So now it's time to put it all together.
Let's see what happens.
I hear you. South Carolina on the road going to Georgia. 3:30 game, CBS primetime slot. This is going to be you got one or two options before I start getting into the stats of this game. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wait on my prediction, but I'm saying you got one or two ways this game could go. Either it's going to be the typical Georgia, South Carolina blowout win where Georgia just comes in from the jump, hops on them, and that's it. Or you're going to have a competitive football game for at least maybe 3 quarters, if not a full game. Here's where I'm going to get into why it could be competitive. Georgia this season, in their 2 games so far against UT Martin and Ball State, new offensive coordinator Mike Bobo has looked absolutely awful at the beginning of these games. They do not look good. Game 1 against UT Martin, you don't score until there's 3:40 left in the first quarter against UT Martin. Again, the next time you don't score again until there's 4:29 left in the second quarter. You end the half against UT Martin in game 1, 17-0 at halftime. Open the half with a 3-and-out, and then after that 3-and-out, when you came back from halftime, then you got going after that. Going on to Ball State, you don't score until the second quarter against Ball State, and that had to go on a punt return that got taken to the house for a touchdown. In the Ball State game, your top 3 running backs combined for 84 yards rushing. They got a running back issue at Georgia right now. The thing with Georgia is right now, how are they gonna look against South Carolina? I know you at home. I know as much as Kirby Smart, as petty he is, he's trying to drum up the crowd. I know y'all heard things he tried to pull out his butt.
Right.
Oh, he disrespected us because he didn't name us as one of the loudest. Tonka at media days didn't name George as one of the loudest ones. They say, oh, they disrespected our fan base and trying to get. If you got to do all of this to get your team riled up for an SEC game, I don't know what else y'all got going on in the locker room.
He know it could be a problem tomorrow.
Hey, and another thing with that is this is Carson Beck's first SEC start for a guy who's, for the most part, looked okay, to say the least. You got weapons around him, and that's all you need him to be, because you proved with Stetson Bennett that you just need a guy to come in and manage the game, get the ball into your playmakers' hands, and go from there. Georgia's roster, 5 stars all over the place. They got the better roster, hands down. But what is going on right now in Georgia to get these pieces put together? Right now, against these 2 teams, UT Martin and Ball State, your ranking nationally for QB pressures with your defensive line. You rank 86th in the country for a defense that has put time and time again guys into the NFL coming off the defensive line saying that there was nobody close to who you are. And right. I don't know if it's just the young guys starting to still phase into it. I don't know if Georgia's just holding back and saying, you know what, we got 2 easy games. We're going to just kind of trot out there and get the game over with, and then we'll worry about getting it rolling, getting it clicking later down the road. That's on the Georgia side. The last time Georgia lost at home, they on a 20-game win streak. Last time Georgia lost at home, they were ranked number 3. South Carolina came to town unranked, beat them in double overtime by a field goal. Can we be seeing another situation like that happening right before our eyes? Here is the thing on South Carolina side that's going for him. Rattler is playing at an all-time high right now. He's playing of his career right now in this season. Top 3 in the country in passing yards per game. He's lighting it up, even with a bad O-line. And I know that's what everybody talks about on the outside about South Carolina. Their O-line looks trash, whatnot. It's bad. They look half decent, like they kind of got some stuff going against Furman. Then again, it is Furman. But with a bad O-line, he's still putting up numbers. No turnovers yet, which was one of his biggest issues last season, was when you got rolling, you would turn the ball over in bad situations. Now, a big nugget coming back for the offense is you're getting Juice Wells back, who coming into the season was an all-SEC voted guy, one of the top wide receivers in the country. Everybody was talking about was coming back and was going to be a top 3, top 5 wide receiver going into the draft next year. He's finally, as reports are saying, he's finally healthy and is going to be lining up opposite Xavier Legette on the other side, who right now is leading the nation in receiving yards. So you got 2 perennial deep threats right now on South Carolina's offense that can stretch the field, which is what you got to do against Georgia. You got to attack them. Going all the way back to the Ohio State game, how do Ohio State be in that game as long as they were in the playoff game? They were attacking Georgia's secondary. Now, I'm not saying South Carolina is Ohio State. I'm not saying they got those players, but I'm saying as far as receivers and weapons, South Carolina has a stable, a monster, a buttload of receiving weapons that can compete with Georgia.
A recipe.
They've got the recipe is there. Another thing is, and a lot of people mentioned, and I've said it myself, we don't have a running back. The thing with the running back is you have to turn, and this is what a terminology has been thrown out around a lot this season, is having an extension of the running game where you give these little quick bubble screens, these little bubble passes to the perimeter, get your guys in the space, get it quick in their hands, let it run. That's got to be your running game going into the Georgia game, because you're not going to be able to run up front with Dakereon Joyner and Juju McDowell, who as soon as he gets touched, he falls on the ground. Playmaker in space, but he ain't at 5'8", 5'9", he ain't going up the middle against this line trying to get yards. And my last thing is on defense. Your defense finally seems to have woken up. They woke up in the second half against North Carolina, forced 2 turnovers. And Carson Beck's first SEC starts, can you get him to turn that ball over? That's how they beat Georgia in Georgia a couple years ago. Nick, you had Israel Mukwamu came back with 3 interceptions in that game. Can you get him to turn the ball over and give Spencer more shots? He's proven to you if you put him on the field long enough, he's gonna make you pay. You get your leading tackler back from ever since game 1, Nick Emenwari at the safety position. Who's gonna be down in the box? I'm telling you right now, this game has the recipe for South Carolina to win this game. My final take is, after saying all of that, is I don't think they get it done, but I think this game is going to be close. I got it down as 28-23 with the possibility of, if it turns into a fourth quarter game down a touchdown, you could see something crazy go down in this game.
You sound confused, man. Make a decision. Listen. Look.
Yeah.
Hey, look. I said it from the beginning. Sorry, Drew. I'm jumping over you, but
Go ahead. I was gonna tell you to go anyway.
I predicted Carolina to win this game. Georgia, and this is before I knew what their deficiencies really were. Okay, the deficiencies have been identified. I don't think they can be fixed between Wednesday and tomorrow. Okay, now Carolina got issues too. What we're talking about is a David and Goliath type situation. Okay, we talk about the recipe. Is the recipe there? When Georgia's playing Mercer, there's no recipe for Mercer to win the game. When Georgia's playing Ball State, there's no recipe for Ball State to win the game. There is a recipe tomorrow. Okay, Carolina plays their A game. Georgia plays their C game. That's it. That's it. It is possible. Spencer Rattler has weapons he can throw the ball to. I wish there was more running game, because currently Georgia has no interior defensive line. I hope Beamer recognizes that and sees it on film and at least tries to run a few dives up the middle just to try to get them to collapse, because then you can open up the play calling a little more for Spencer and them 2 wide receivers on the outside to really get loose, because that's what's going to have to happen. Carolina is going to have to take advantage of Georgia's traditional slow starts and get them out of the game. They're going to have to understand that Georgia is going to make a run. They're going to have to withstand that run. They're going to have to recompose themselves and do what they did early in the first quarter, late in the fourth quarter. But you know what that sounds like to me? It sounds like a recipe. I can email it to you. It makes sense. They can actually do it. Watch it. I'm still calling SC for the upset in Athens. Let's go cocky.
Now, see, my only issue is with this game right here. Being from Columbia, South Carolina, I've always seen Carolina have the recipe, Sean. They got recipes in their recipe book, but they ain't got no cooks in the goddamn kitchen. They ain't got things to cook up the goddamn meal to beat this team. We don't have it. To me, when I look at this team right here, I think, one, it's going to be an extreme uphill battle for the offensive line. Now, can South Carolina's offensive line do it? Yes, they can. But it's going to be an uphill battle. What does that mean to me? That means you got to be aggressive early. I'm talking about, this might be the type of game where you get the ball first. Call for it. Say, I want to receive it. Come out there your first drive.
It's that kind of game.
Throw some haymakers. Now, to me, the wide receiver core for South Carolina is getting together. Last week when I watched them, I saw a quarterback in the slot. I ain't like it. So to me, they got to fix some of those issues. Still watching this team, I see a quarterback in the slot. I see a quarterback in the backfield, and he's not taking the snap. So to me, I'm like, you got a lot of quarterbacks on the field that's not throwing the ball. That type of offense is not going to beat this type of defense. Understand, Georgia has not come out strong in these first 2 games, but I don't think they really had the offseason they wanted to, because they was too busy partying. Too many allegations coming out.
The problem.
So these 2 games to me was Georgia's camp. Kirby Smart is going to have this team on its A game tomorrow. You talking about a C game, Sean? They're going to be A++ tomorrow. I don't think they're going to mess around with SEC opponents. I think they're going to show, hey, this is our time to show that we are the best team in the nation because people have been doubting Georgia. Now, I'm on that side of doubting Georgia. I don't really think that they're the complete team they was last 2 years, but I don't think South Carolina is the team to expose them because not anything that Georgia has, but I think South Carolina doesn't have enough to consistently do it through 4 quarters. South Carolina, to me, is going to have flashes. But I think this game, to me, is going to be a lot like the North Carolina game going back to week 1. I don't think that they're going to overall finish the job. They might get a drive going for 30, 40 yards. But can you get the ball in the end zone? Field goal is not going to beat this team. I don't think South Carolina has the opportunities unless Spencer Rattler comes out and just goes berserk. Now, what does that overall mean for Spencer Rattler? I think he's asked to throw for at least 350 because they're not going to run the ball. I just don't see it on them. Wide receivers, Leggett has to be a jump ball machine because that's one of the things that Georgia does not like. They don't like jump ball players. They like guys they can beat up. That's not going to be the guy. Georgia also is going to be missing a secondary player tomorrow. A little bit of weakness. So to me, there is room. There is room for the recipe to be cooking, Sean. It is room there. I see North Carolina shirt on. I'm not trying to ban or wash Carolina out this game. But Georgia's going to win by at least 28 points.
Ooh.
28 points. It's going to be an interesting first half, but Georgia coming out that halftime, it's going to be a totally different team.
Okay.
And I think that they have the pieces to knock Carolina out. Now, to me, interesting fact about Georgia, the last 2 weeks, they really haven't gave Brock Bowers the ball like that. He's got some highlights, but this is the type of game where he is going to come in there dominant.
Right.
Dominant. Carson Beck, this is your first SEC game. I really think he has the tools to be a game manager, and they don't need nothing more than that. So to me, this game right here, I think it's going to be a battle of the coaching staff. Can Beamer have South Carolina ready to throw those huge haymakers and maybe get a knockout blow early? But I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Georgia overall has the full capability of slow coasting this game to a big victory, especially if South Carolina doesn't get off to a hot start. South Carolina struggles early, man, this game will be over by second quarter. So I really got an interesting watch. It's a 3:30 game. Not much going on tomorrow at 3:30. So a lot of eyes should be on this one right here. So overall, we're going to see a great game. I think my last point being, if this game was in William Bryce, totally different story. Because I think South Carolina is going to need the help of fans showing up and being allowed to really get them out of their own way. So to me, I got South Carolina losing this one. I got Georgia, to me, being dominant because they got to be dominant. They got to show it. They have not shown it yet. This is the perfect time to do it. And I think Kirby Smart will have his team in order to do it. So, Van, I see what you're saying. You are indecisive. You don't know what's going to happen, but you a diehard Carolina fan. So your emotions all over the place. Sean, hey. I think you're on the right. I think you're on the right track with this one. But I think second half is going to be way different than what you said. So we're going to see.
I'm changing my prediction.
Uh-oh.
Cox by 90. Cox by 90.
By 90?
That's a lot. Hey, that's a lot of cock right there. No more like that. That's a lot of game.
They gonna win this game tomorrow.
Listen,
I'm telling you, just talked me into it. Hey, Juice Wells, and
it's gonna happen.
Juice being back is huge for this game. Juice Wells last year came out of that Arkansas game on the road for over 160 yards receiving and got 0 touches against Georgia last year. And there's a reason for that. Our offense coordinator's the reason he ain't here no more. He up in Nebraska getting his butt whooped every week. Hey, but we got weapons on offense.
And a quarterback and a deliverer.
The thing you said, Drew, that Spencer got to do is go for 350. He done did that in both the games this season already with no turnovers. Right. He gonna do it. He gonna do it tomorrow. I'm telling you what, the recipe is there, Sean. They cooking right now. It's in the pot.
Well, I can send the recipe to everybody. We can send the recipe all around the world. But if we ain't got no cook to cook the food,
hey, I think the cooks are there.
Man,
cooks are there.
My thing is, you're not gonna beat Georgia with just less than 100 yards rushing. It's not gonna happen.
I'm telling you what. I'm telling you another stat real quick. Shane Beamer is 9-1 total. If his team rushes for more than 100 yards, just 100, he 9-1. So I'm telling you what, we can get 100 yards from somebody. It don't gotta be
Up
one
to
person.
that.
It could be by committee. Get me to 100
Listen.
yards. We're gonna get this win. He
Guys.
9-1. Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
Listen, so Georgia's defensive line is not just categorically not good. I've seen them. They put no pressure on the quarterback. They played two cupcake teams and have registered one sack of the quarterback. Rattler's gonna have time.
I don't believe that.
He's going to have time.
I don't believe that.
Which bleeds into the recipe which Rattler needs to be able to be productive on offense to help him win this game. Georgia's not going to be able to get the pressure that they normally were used to them getting.
Well, I got a question for y'all. Do y'all feel like Georgia hasn't shown their full arsenal yet?
I mean, it's always possible, but at the end of the day, you do want to build some kind of continuity, and at some point in time, you're going to have your best out there together. Why would you not?
If you can't run the ball,
and look,
that team's going to start blitzing the hell out of South Carolina. The offensive line is not going to handle no blitz.
That may be what they need to do.
But listen. So we're going Drew, what you just said about Georgia not showing their full arsenal. I think the biggest issue right now for Georgia, and this is coming back off the high horse of being a Carolina fan and whatnot and all that, from a analyst looking at games, the way I look at games, look at the tape, look at stats, this is a offensive. Mike Bobo has proven time and time again, whatever team he gets assigned to, he fucks up their offense. He ain't been a good offensive coordinator since he had Todd Gurley in the backfield at Georgia. And then when he went from there,
but they didn't win then either.
He didn't win, then he lost to South Carolina that 2014 year. This is another thing, though. I think part of it is that they weren't sold on a starting quarterback until late into fall camp before week 1 and then settled with Carson Beck. I think is part of that is they don't have their guy under center that's really comfortable enough to run this offense. They just need a game manager. You got Dominic Levitt, who came over from Missouri, who's a dynamic wide receiver, was one of the leading wide receivers in the SEC last season. You still got Brock Bowers, like Drew, like you were saying. He should warrant to where you have to give me the ball at least 10 times, if not more, a ball.
10 attempts.
I don't care if it's force feed. If you put him in the running back position or in the slot position where it's like, hey, I don't care if you got 3 people on you, I'm throwing you the ball. That's the type of guy he is. And the fact that he's not is telling me that they're looking at this offense, or Mike Bobo's calling these plays predetermined, especially early in ball games, to go to certain guys. And I think that's what it is. I think the change at offensive coordinator is what's hampering, because you got the skill, you got the talent. The team is still there. You still got the guys reloading to be there and be competitive for Georgia. But why is it not clicking? And those are the 2 main issues I think it is.
To me, 2 keys that have to happen for South Carolina to win this game. Win the turnover battle by at least 2.
It's possible.
And also win the penalty battle.
Possible too.
South Carolina had this year haven't been the most disciplined team.
15 over the last 2 weeks. 15.
You go into situations in Georgia where
on the road too.
1st and 15, 2nd and 15, you're getting smacked. I'm sorry. South Carolina, to me, just hasn't put it together in these 2 games. And Georgia's had 2 cupcakes. They had time this year to be like, we don't got to come out with our 8 game until week 3.
Well, you're right.
Let's just see what we got on this roster, just in case we might have some superstars down underneath people that need to show up. So to me, tomorrow, Georgia's coming out with a full game plan about whooping South Carolina's ass. And it is a rivalry game. Kirby Smart takes rivalry games serious. So his team this week, I think, are going to be on their A game. Game is going to beat South Carolina by 20. It's going
to be interesting. But I tell you, they get off to a slow start. But like you said, Drew, South Carolina's not scared of that secondary. They're gonna take their shots down the field. And Xavier Good has established himself as a deep threat guy, and so is Juice Wells is just as equally. So you got 2 sides of the field. You got to pick your poison. One thing will go into it though: is Juice really 100%? Because these last 2 weeks they've been holding him back and saying he's been dealing with a leg injury. You can't go in there and have a guy running half-assed or at 50%,
Right.
taking up space on the field. That's another part on it. But they're claiming that this week at practice, he's been a man on a mission. He's upset that he didn't get any touches last year in the game against Georgia, and it's going to be something interesting to see. But
man,
it's going to be a game.
Man, this is one I've been waiting for. What time is the kick?
3:30 Eastern.
All right, man. Listen here. Got a lot of damage going on around 2:30 Central Time, man. Yes, listen, I'm looking forward to it. Cannot wait. I'm hoping for a real close game. I predicted a W for Carolina, and I'm still sticking with it. I think everything is there for it to happen, so that's what I'm rolling with.
I hear you. Well,
I do got an ending point. Real quick. It is game of the week. We only had 2 this week, so I think we got a little bit of time to slide something in there. We've talked about Colorado the last couple of weeks on these preview games.
Yeah.
Right.
Can y'all even believe what Colorado State's coach came out and talking junk about? I'm like, man, what? I ain't even know. I'm not even no big Colorado person. I'm not huge on them. I think they're playing good football for a turnaround organization. But to me, I'm like, it's still basic to me.
Why would you kick the Hornets' nest?
I don't know. I really don't know. And then my thing about Colorado is they're looking for motivation.
Yes.
I think if you take all the national spotlight off of them, they're not going to be the same dominant team that they are we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And to me, against last week, they weren't even that dominant early in that game. Mm-hmm. Nebraska flipped and fumbled that game away in multiple situations. So to me, I really want to see Colorado come out there and just blow this team out the water just because the coach just had to open his mouth. I'm like, what you said wasn't even clear points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just had to say something.
Yeah.
You said the wrong thing. So I'm like, I kind of want to get y'all opinion on Colorado State head coach versus Deion right now, kind of what that's transitioning to be. So I'm like, I know it's not going to be a huge game, but that's a 10 o'clock game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Late. Yeah. There's going to be some life people have their eyes on. Yeah. And Colorado, they already
look. Listen, it's a money game. Listen, Deion is already contributing to the economic engine which we call the NCAA. He's already doing that from a place where they at? They in what they're in the Pac-12 right now, right? Going to the Big 12, coming back, right?
Yep.
So the eyeballs, the contract that conference signed years ago, they didn't know Deion was coming. They didn't know that they were going to be the most watched program on television in the 2023 season. Nobody knew that, but nobody knew Deion Sanders was coming. So to your point, we don't want to give Deion any more material, bulletin board material to go and beat somebody that he was, at this point, I'd say was supposed to beat.
Was supposed to be.
Right. So we got Oregon, we got USC, we got some things coming up that is probably gonna take this train and set it back, or might set it back. But what Deion is doing and what everybody else is doing is giving him and his team reason to have the confidence they need to beat anybody. Right. Anybody. I'm talking about anybody. Line Colorado up against Georgia tomorrow. Let's say it's Colorado and not Carolina. Are your predictions different?
Come on now. No, they're not. Georgia by 35.
But I'm just saying though, from a confidence perspective.
Right, confidence. I understand what you're saying.
Right, you follow me? I think as a fan, you would say I got a lot of faith in the fact that I think this could possibly happen.
Right. And I'm not trying to go deep on this game. I know it's not one of our game of the weeks, but to me, it's the talk of the week.
Listen, I'm loving it.
It's something we got to touch on. It's something we got to.
I'm loving all of it.
Yeah, I'm telling you now. So they Colorado State about to walk in there and get they ass beat. That's what's about to happen tomorrow. I think everybody knows it. What's interesting about this is Colorado is lining up to the point where they're going to Oregon next week. Can you pull that one off at Oregon? And then after that, you got a matchup with Southern Cal and Caleb Williams the week after that one. Can you get into that game undefeated with two undefeated teams going head-to-head with probably the most stacked, talent-wise teams right
The
now. this season.
celebrities,
Huh?
the celebrities that'll be at that game.
I'm telling you right now,
Imagine.
The Rock is at Boulder, Colorado right now. Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp they broadcast today from Boulder, Colorado. I'm telling you, it's gonna look like a all-star weekend type of deal in Southern Cal for that game. And this is another interesting tidbit, and we can get into this probably another day. But isn't it interesting that the Pac-12 is getting ready to disband and they have the leading win-loss record against other conferences right now this season? It's like what? It's like not maybe 19-2.
They're doing well. They're doing well.
That's insane. And they
won't win a championship, but they're doing well.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't even know to that point, Sean. Like you said earlier, I mean, there's no real number one right now.
No.
Correct.
He looks good.
Yes.
The defense they do got some stars on that defensive side of the ball that can show up in big games and show up situationally. Now, to me, everything you talked about Colorado, Van, is only relevant if they beat Oregon.
Yes. Which is going Oregon put up 80 something in week 1. That Oregon putting up points. Oregon ain't.
Where's the game being played at? Where's that game being played at?
At Oregon.
That's at Oregon, and then USC goes to Colorado.
Yes, which is going to be insane.
But Oregon struggled last week, though. Oregon didn't have
you can't count Colorado out.
I'm not counting them out. But I'm saying this is a.
I want them to go. I want them to be undefeated going when they play USC. That'll be
Oregon versus Colorado will probably be Colorado's first must-win game. It's one of those games.
But did anybody think that Deion would have a must-win game in like week 6 or 7?
And this is what I'm saying. I think they playing with house money. They playing with house money right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they have a must-win game.
I don't think they're playing with house money. I don't think they're playing with house money.
They got to win now. No, they got to win now. Listen,
you say at this point you got to keep rolling. That whole 2-3 wins thing is out the window.
Hey, bro, listen, he
know it too. The reason why I say that, Van, is because is Travis Hunter going to be there next year?
No.
Is Shedeur going to be there next year?
No.
Do you have any pipeline of somebody coming through?
Maybe.
The transport is going to be interesting, but right now you got your best quarterback and your best player that Deion's probably ever going to have in his tenure.
You're right about that.
So to me, I want to see if he can really capitalize off and make the most out of it in this couple of weeks. And I think this is the year. You've already got the hype on your side.
That's right.
You've already got other coaches talking, sugar honey iced tea about you. Not trying to go deep into cuss words right now, but you got people talking junk about you right now. So you got the eyes of the whole country laying right there on Colorado. Take advantage of it. Yeah. Go out there. And like I said, this game tomorrow is going to be a wash.
Yeah.
Sunglasses and ball caps, baby.
Our game of the week. Woo! We're going to have a lot of next week right there. Hey, y'all better tune in. The comment section better be popping going into these next couple of weeks because football is about to get interesting. Man. Oh, Lord. Started going off on a tangent about Colorado, but I had to bring that up just because it's national media right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't take long. We'll continue this next week for sure.
Definitely. Well, hey, thank everybody for tuning in. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We got a lot more coming. Hit that like button. Leave some comments. Let's get it going. Hey, this is going to be an interesting Saturday. Hey, circle back on it. Get some review time in early next week, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Let's go. Roll Tide, baby.
Hey, y'all.
Cox by 90.